For 6 years, on the same day every single July, a message appeared. Always public, always affectionate, always him. Happy anniversary to my incredible partner, the most beautiful, the most amazing wife. He never missed it, not once. Birthdays, Valentine's Days, anniversaries, he would post the photographs, he would write the words, he would tell the whole world, all 170,000 of his followers, exactly how much he loved her. And then this year, on the 17th of July, on their 6th wedding anniversary, nothing. No photograph, no message, no word, silence. Now why? Why, after 6 years of the same loving ritual, would a devoted husband suddenly go quiet on the one day he never forgets? What changed in the weeks before that date? And why are the words separation and divorce now being whispered around a woman who just a few years ago was one of the most beloved young royals in Britain? I want you to hold on to that silence, because it is only the beginning. Because at the very same moment her marriage was being questioned, her father was being stripped of almost everything he had, his titles, his home, even the word prince. Her family name was collapsing in the newspapers, and she, Princess Beatrice, the niece of King Charles himself, was standing in the middle of all of it. There are the solo trips to America that he was forced to explain. There is the makeup-free photograph that told its own story. There is the strange, deafening quiet from a couple who used to shout their love from the rooftops. And there is the timing, the cruel, almost unbelievable timing of it all. So what is really happening inside that marriage? Is this the ordinary silence of a busy couple, or the first crack in something that is quietly falling apart? And why now, of all the moments in her life, when everything around her is already breaking? My name is Edmund Hale. Stay with me, because tonight we are going to walk through every piece of this puzzle, one by one, and by the end, you will understand exactly why this quiet, missing message may be the loudest thing the House of York has said in years. Let me take you back, before the whispers, before the silence, because to understand how far this could fall, you first have to understand how high she once stood, Princess Beatrice of York. The elder daughter of Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, the granddaughter of the late Queen Elizabeth II, who by many accounts adored her. And this is the part people forget, the niece of the man who now sits on the throne, King Charles III. She is not a distant cousin lost somewhere in the line of succession. She is the king's own niece. She is 8th in line to the throne of the United Kingdom. When she was a little girl, she was photographed on the balcony of Buckingham Palace, waving to the crowds, a golden child of the monarchy, with what looked like the safest, softest life imaginable. And for a while, that is exactly what it looked like. In July of 2020, in the middle of a lockdown world, she married an Italian property developer named Edoardo Mappelli Mochi. A quiet ceremony, around 20 guests. Her grandmother, the queen, there to watch. It was small, it was private, and by every account, it was happy. 2 children followed. A blended family, because Edoardo already had a young son. Photographs of them looked for years like the picture of a modern royal love story that had actually worked. So ask yourself this: if everything was so perfect, what happened? How does a marriage that looked like the one bright, uncomplicated thing in the House of York end up surrounded by rumors of separation? And what does it cost a woman when her private life starts to crack at the exact same moment her family's public name is being torn apart? Because that is the real weight of this story. It was never just about one missing post. It was about a young woman who has spent her whole life being pulled between 2 things: the family she was born into and the family she chose. And in the summer of 2026, both of them seemed to be shaking at once. Now let me show you why that silence mattered so much. Because on its own, a man not posting on Instagram sounds like nothing. People forget dates. People get busy. Right? Except this man never did. Edoardo Mappelli Mochi is not a private, invisible husband. He runs a public account followed by 170,000 people, and for years he has used it faithfully to celebrate his wife. Go back to their 3rd anniversary. He wrote her a tribute. Go back to their 4th. He shared unseen photographs from their wedding day, with the words, "Happy 4th wedding anniversary, my love." Go to their 5th just last year in 2025. There it was again, "Happy 5th anniversary to my incredible partner, the most beautiful and amazing wife." Birthdays, he posted. Valentine's Day, he posted. Milestones, holidays, quiet ordinary Tuesdays. This was a man who seemed genuinely, publicly in love, and who wanted everyone to know it. That is what makes this year so loud. Because a pattern that consistent, that reliable, that romantic, when it suddenly stops, the silence isn't empty. The silence says something. So what does it say? Here is where I have to be honest with you, and I will be honest with you all the way through this. Nobody outside that marriage knows for certain what the silence means. It could be grief. It could be exhaustion. It could be a private decision to step back from social media in a summer where every headline about their family was a nightmare. There are innocent explanations, and I want you to hold them in your mind fairly. But you and I both know that when a devoted husband breaks a 6-year ritual on the single most romantic date of the year and does it in the middle of the worst scandal his wife's family has ever faced, the world is going to ask why, and it did. Within hours, the same phrase was appearing everywhere. Divorce rumors, speculation, eyebrows raised, a silence that spoke volumes. Did he simply forget? Or did he, for the first time in 6 years, have nothing he wanted to say in public? And then there is the other thread, the one that was already tangling long before the anniversary ever arrived. Because the silence did not come out of nowhere, it came at the end of a period of intense scrutiny around Eduardo himself. In the weeks before that quiet anniversary, he had been forced, publicly, to address speculation about something else entirely: his solo business trips to the United States. Long trips, frequent trips, trips he was taking on his own, without his wife, without his children, crossing an ocean again and again. Now on paper that is not a scandal. He is a property developer. Property developers travel. Deals get made in New York, in Los Angeles, in cities thousands of miles from home. A husband getting on a plane for work is the most ordinary thing in the world. But here is the question that started to hang in the air. Why so often? Why alone? And why did the speculation grow loud enough that he actually had to respond to it, to stand up and explain where he was going and why? Because think about what that tells you. A man does not have to publicly explain his work trips unless people have started asking uncomfortable questions about them. The very fact that he addressed it means the whispers had already begun. The distance was already being noticed, and so a picture starts to form, doesn't it? A husband often away, a wife often alone, a family under the heaviest pressure of their lives. And then at the end of it all, the one day he always shows up for her and he doesn't. I am not telling you what that means. I am telling you what it looks like. And I am asking you to sit with how it must have felt to be her, watching the 17th of July arrive and pass in silence. And think about what distance really does over time to two people. It is rarely one enormous argument that ends a marriage. More often it is the quiet accumulation of absence. A trip here, a trip there, a dinner eaten alone, a bed on one side of an ocean and a bed on the other. Weeks that turn into a rhythm, and then a rhythm that turns into a life lived slightly apart. Nobody decides it. It simply happens, one plane ticket at a time, until one day you look up and realize you have become two people who love each other from a distance rather than two people who share a home. Is that what was happening here? I cannot tell you that, but I can tell you that the ingredients the tabloids were pointing to, the frequent solo travel, the growing physical distance, the pressure of a family in crisis, are exactly the ingredients that in ordinary marriages quietly do the most damage, not through drama, through absence. And that is what made the silence on that anniversary feel to so many like the natural end of a sentence that had been forming for months. There is a detail here that I cannot stop thinking about. Around this time, a photograph of Beatrice circulated in which she appeared completely makeup-free, bare-faced, unguarded, no glamour, no performance, no royal armor. For most of us, that would mean nothing. But when you are a princess, when your entire public life is built on composure and control, a face without any mask is not nothing. It is a statement, whether she meant it to be or not. Some people looked at that image and saw a woman finally relaxed, comfortable, free, and maybe that is exactly what it was. But others looked at the same photograph and saw something else. They saw a woman worn down, tired, stripped of the shine, in every sense, a woman carrying a weight that no amount of makeup could cover. Which one is true? I don't know. You don't know. But is it not strange? Is it not almost unbearable? How much a single face can carry when everything around it is falling? Here was a woman whose father was being erased from the royal family in real time, whose marriage was being questioned in every tabloid, and there she was, bare, quiet, human. And I keep coming back to the same thought. Behind every one of these headlines is a real person, not a character, not a punchline. A daughter, a wife, a mother, standing in the middle of a storm she did not create, and being watched by the entire world while she does it. Now let me tell you why the timing of all this is so devastating. Because this is the part that turns a private worry into something almost tragic. At the exact moment, Beatrice's marriage was being questioned. Her father was being destroyed. You have heard the story, or you will hear it in full very soon on this channel, so I will not linger on the details tonight. But in this same stretch of weeks, Prince Andrew, her father, was losing everything. His honors, his patronages, his royal style, even, extraordinarily, the right to use the word prince, and the home he had fought so desperately to keep. One by one, the pieces of his life were being taken away in the most public humiliation the British monarchy has seen in 100 years. Now imagine you are his daughter. Imagine your family name is on the front of every newspaper for all the worst reasons. Imagine the surname you were born with is becoming a headline, a scandal, a thing people whisper about in supermarket queues. And imagine that at the very same time, the one place you were supposed to feel safe, your own marriage, the family you built with your own hands, that too is suddenly surrounded by doubt. That is what I mean by devastating timing. It is not one crisis, it is two, arriving together, from two different directions, closing in on the same woman at the same moment. Because think about the pressure that puts on any marriage. When a scandal that enormous attaches itself to a family, it does not stay contained. It touches everyone connected to it, the in-laws, the reputations, the business relationships, the invitations that suddenly stop coming. A man like Eduardo building a career on his name and his connections, what does it do to him? To be married into the most disgraced family in the country, in the worst summer of their lives. I am not saying that is why the message went unwritten, but can you honestly tell me it played no part? Can you look at everything happening around that couple and believe the silence had nothing to do with any of it? Let me do something now, and I want to be completely clear about what it is. What I am about to describe is not a report, it is not something I witnessed, and it is not something anyone has confirmed. It is an imagined moment, a way of feeling our way into a human situation that from the outside we can only guess at. So take it as exactly that. Imagine the evening of the 16th of July, the night before the anniversary. Imagine a quiet house, the children finally asleep upstairs. Beatrice sitting on the edge of a sofa, her phone in her hand, the screen glowing in a darkened room, and imagine her doing the things so many of us do without even thinking, scrolling back through the years. The third anniversary post. The fourth, with those unseen wedding photographs. The fifth, the most beautiful and amazing wife. Imagine her reading his own words back to herself, the words he wrote every single year. And then imagine the 17th arriving, the morning, the afternoon, the evening, and the screen staying empty. Imagine what it is to wait for a message from the person who has never once failed to send it, and to slowly understand that this year, it is not coming. I don't know if that night happened. I don't know if it happened anything like that, but I imagine it, because behind the word silence, behind the tabloid phrase divorce rumors, there is a real human being who had to live through whatever the truth actually was. And she had to live through it while the whole world speculated about her. So let me lay it out plainly, both sides, because you deserve the honest version and not just the dramatic one. On one side, the innocent reading, a couple, exhausted by the most brutal summer their family has ever known, quietly choosing not to perform their love on the internet this year. A husband deciding that with his wife's father being publicly torn apart, a cheerful anniversary post would look tone-deaf, even cruel. A private retreat, not a private collapse. Under this reading, they are fine. They are simply protecting themselves. And in a year or two, the posts come back, and all of this speculation looks foolish. And on the other side, the darker reading, a pattern of distance, the solo trips he had to explain, the silence on the one day he never misses, the bare, tired face, the unbearable weight of a family name in freefall. Under this reading, the missing message is not an accident at all. It is the first visible crack in something that has been quietly breaking for a while. Here is what I will not do. I will not stand here and tell you their marriage is over, because I do not know that, and neither does anyone writing these headlines. To claim it as fact would be a lie, and it would be unfair to two real people and 3 children caught in the middle. But I also will not pretend the questions aren't there, because they are. The world is asking them. And the reason the world is asking them is that the signs taken together are genuinely hard to ignore. So I am going to leave the verdict where it honestly belongs, with you, watching everything laid out. What do you think that silence meant? Let me pull back for a moment, because I think this story is about something bigger than one couple. We look at royals and we imagine their lives are protected, padded, safe from the ordinary heartbreaks that touch the rest of us. And this whole story is the proof that they are not. Money does not stop a marriage from straining under pressure. Titles do not stop a father from falling. A palace balcony in your childhood does not protect you, 30 years later, from sitting alone in a quiet room wondering why the message never came. If anything, their pain is worse, because ours is private and theirs is performed. When my marriage struggles, no stranger writes an article about it. When yours does, no tabloid counts the days since your last loving photograph. But hers, every silence is measured. Every bare-faced photograph is analyzed. Every absence is turned into a headline before she has even had the chance to understand it herself. And that is the cruelty at the center of all of this. Beatrice did nothing to earn the scandal engulfing her father. She did nothing to invite the world's eyes onto her marriage. She was simply born into a name and married into visibility, and now she carries the weight of both at once, in public, in real time, whether she is ready or not. So before we go on, I just want to say it clearly. Whatever is or isn't happening in that marriage, there is a human being at the center of it who deserves a little grace. And that is worth remembering, no matter how dramatic the headlines get. And there is something else worth remembering. The family she comes from has been living under this kind of scrutiny her entire life. Think about it. Her parents' marriage and their very public divorce played out in the newspapers when she was barely more than a baby. Her mother spent years as a tabloid target. Her father's troubles have shadowed the family for as long as she has been alive. Beatrice grew up learning a lesson that most children never have to learn, that your private pain can become public property overnight, and that there is almost nothing you can do to stop it. So when I imagine her in the summer of 2026, I do not just see a woman facing a hard moment. I see a woman facing the exact same monster that has haunted her family for 30 years, the monster of public exposure, and facing it now as a wife and a mother, with children of her own to protect from it. She has watched what this machine did to her mother. She has watched what it is doing right now to her father. And she must know better than almost anyone alive exactly how merciless it can be. Whatever the truth of her marriage, she was living it while carrying that knowledge. And that to me makes her silence even easier to understand, and even harder to watch. So where does this leave her, and what happens next? The truth is, we are watching a story that is still being written, and there are a few things I will be looking for in the weeks ahead, and I want you to look for them too. Watch for whether the posts return. If on a birthday, on a holiday, that public affection suddenly reappears, the tributes, the photographs, the my love, then perhaps this summer really was just a family closing its doors during a storm. That would be the best possible answer. Watch for the trips. Whether the distance grows or closes, whether they start appearing together again, publicly, comfortably, or whether the gaps get longer and quieter. And watch for how the family around her moves, because Beatrice is not just a wife in this story. She is a daughter of a disgraced prince, a niece of the king, a granddaughter of a beloved queen. How the palace treats her now, whether she is kept close or quietly pushed to the edges along with her father, will tell us a great deal about her future inside the monarchy. Because here is the thing about the House of York. For years it has been the troubled corner of the royal family, the branch surrounded by scandal and whispers, and Beatrice for a long time seemed like the one who had escaped it, the one who built a happy, ordinary, loving life just outside the blast radius. The question now is whether that escape was real, or whether the storm has finally reached her too. Let me leave you where we started, with the silence. One missing message, on one ordinary July day, from a man who never in 6 years missed it before. It sounds so small, and yet when you put it beside everything else, the trips he had to explain, the bare and tired face, the father being stripped of everything, the whole family name in freefall, that small silence starts to sound like the loudest thing anyone in that family has said all year. Is it the sound of a couple quietly protecting each other? Or the sound of something breaking? I have told you honestly that I do not know, but I have shown you everything I see, and now I want to hear what you see. So tell me down in the comments, do you think Beatrice's marriage is genuinely in trouble? Or do you think the world has taken one quiet summer and turned an innocent silence into a scandal? I read these comments, and I want to know where you land. If this story held you, do me one small favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel more than you know. And subscribe and turn on the bell, because the full story of her father's downfall, the scandal at the very center of everything you heard tonight, is coming very soon, and you will not want to miss it. My name is Edmund Hale. Thank you for sitting with me tonight, through a story that in the end is not really about a palace or a title at all, but about a woman in a quiet room, waiting for a message that never came. Until next time.